Yes, my friends, welcome back. Tons of stories to break down today. We discuss the latest updates around Mason Mount and Man United. To move on, we talk Victor Osimhen as meetings are getting planned for next week. We move on to discussing all things Inter Milan involving Lukaku and Azpilicueta. And obviously, we have to hear about the first words from our new star in Did Nkunku as we break down his first interview after being officially announced by the football club. So my friends, tons of things to break down, discuss. Hope you guys enjoy. Hit that like button. But before we get into anything, today's video is brought to you by OneFootball. Now every day, I'm regularly locked into OneFootball, yeah, because it's just a really convenient way to stay up to date to all the latest stories happening around this football club. I mean, as you guys can see on the screen right here, I'll be discussing some big reports today. Osimhen, we'll talk the latest behind Mason Mount, plus a ton more news, and sometimes I can't even cover all the stories every day because there's so much news happening. But the app is a really quick and convenient way for you to stay up to date yourself and stay in tune with all things Chelsea. And obviously, the guy I'm really excited for this season, Osimhen Nkunku, 60 million euros, one of the bargains of this summer window. Yeah, I can't wait to discuss him and I can't wait to see this guy play for us. So my friends, help yourselves out this window. Stay up to date to all things transfer news on OneFootball. You'll find a link below in the description and in the QR code on screen too. So right now, my friends, I guess we've got to start things off on a positive note, right? And let's find out how Osimhen Nkunku's first day was as our new player. So to do that, let's head to the club's official website and let's go through the key findings from his recent interview. Of course, Nkunku excited to get work and bring joy to us fans. As we scroll down, my guys, welcome to Chelsea, Christopher. For the supporters who haven't seen you play much, what should they know about you as a footballer? Of course, he's all about giving hard work. He will give everything for the football club, for the fans, and for his team because he wants to win trophies. You know, on the pitch, he's a bit quiet, but he lets his football do the talking instead. And for me, the best players always speak for themselves with their footballing ability. It's always going to be like that. Now, one question I really liked. Are you one of those players who loves to win or hates to lose? And here's what Nkunku had to say. I hate to lose, but I have both sides. You need to hate to lose to also win. So I think these are two opposite things, but you need to take these two things together to have success. You know, sometimes in life, it's about that balance, right? It's about the combination of that yin and yang. And I feel like, you know, for competitors like Nkunku, you know, especially players that get to the very pinnacle of the sport, right? You know, I've always kind of find it fascinating, like how they motivate themselves mentally. And I think this was a good answer from Nkunku, and it gives me a lot of hope as a fan, to be fair with you. Now, why did Nkunku sign for us? Of course, the Fable projects is why he's actually here, and hopefully next season we start to see some tangible things on the field to give us more confidence behind his projects, right? And obviously, one thing we know about Nkunku is that this guy has played in midfield for a few years, and every season he's playing higher and higher and higher up the field. And here's what he had to say behind that. You know, it never surprised me because it's about my motivation. Like, I want to improve, to progress every day. So whenever they tell me to play, I play. And I wanted to improve in every position. So that's the way I go about everything. And why I was able to score after changing. You know, I was not surprised because I know my qualities. I know what I'm capable to do. So I'm not surprised. And, you know, that type of... It's not arrogance, it's just this belief. It's this confidence you have in yourself. I think his football and how he plays kind of highlights that. But obviously, he was asked about things like leaving Paris, you know, life at Leipzig. And obviously, if he has any teammates that he's friends with here, of course, Benoit and Fofana are guys that he knows. And obviously, Mauricio Pochettino, where he reveals that he hasn't yet spoken officially with Pochettino. And that's because everyone's still on holiday. So Pochettino has not spoken to anyone at this point in time, but he'll be here very soon. Of course, it will be announced on the 1st of July, so we have one more week to wait for. But my friends, before we even move on, there was another revealing interview and a video this time from the club, and we learned a bit more about Nkunku, especially in terms of how he likes to play and his preferred role. And as we learned in the video interview, you know, Nkunku, and when Nkunku was asked where he likes to play, he says he's a guy that likes to play everywhere, in midfield and further up, but now that he's evolved, he likes to play as a striker. Now, liking to play as a striker does not mean that he prefers to only play as a striker, because after that he says that he just wants to be happy on the pitch, which basically means that as long as you find a way to use him that brings out his best qualities, That's all that really matters. And to be fair with you, Nkunku was playing up front near the end of the season for Leipzig in their 4-2-2-2 system, but he was playing up front alongside Werner on the left-hand side. And that type of role complements his best traits. He can drift to the left, right? He can combine. He can run in behind. He can link up with the midfield. He has even more expression handed to him. And I kind of feel like if you want Nkunku to succeed, you must allow him to show these things on the field. So Nkunku up front, I'd find that very interesting. Could he play as a 10? I'm going to have a video later next week to discuss how I feel Nkunku could play for us for next season. So you guys make sure you stay tuned for that. But as he said himself, he likes to play with skill. He likes to protect that football. And right now at 25 years old, I feel this guy is reaching like his next peak. From 25 now to 28, 29. We could see him in his best years with us. And I really hope that Pochettino and his ideas, his football, gets the best out of Christopher Nkunku. So that is all things Nkunku on his first day at our football club. How do you guys feel about him? Are you excited? Let us know below. Now to move on to a very small but very interesting update, let's now discuss the latest news around Victor Osimhen. Because as we know, we're very close now to signing Nicholas Jackson, but that doesn't mean that we're not in the market to sign like a mega money marquee striker, and Osimhen is our ideal number one forward we would love to sign. So, as reported by very reliable Belgian reporter in Mr. Tavolleri, he's basically saying that from next week, us, Man United, and Liverpool as well too, are planning on holding meetings with Napoli over the availability of Osimhen. Now, in terms of the final valuation, we still don't have the exact number. It has been fluctuating quite a lot. Some reports say 180 million. It was 150 million. It's now come down to 120 million euros. And some reports are even suggesting that Osimhen could even sign a contract extension too. So I guess it only makes sense that clubs want to see where Napoli's head's at with Osimhen. And now that we receive over 120 million pounds, which is literally incoming now from all these sales, we have some flexibility to spend. And the good thing about the timing of our sales is that, of course, the Premier League window opens on the 14th of June, which is like half a month earlier before the rest of Europe, which opens on the 1st of July, right? So it means that any sales that we get done before this month ends means that we can account for these profits for this financial year instead of the next one, giving us a bit more flexibility in this window. So again, we can't forget that we have some business masterminds at this football club. They do everything with purpose. We might not see it, but I think we have to be humble and remember, there's a reason why none of us are billionaires. In my opinion, I want to spend big on a goalkeeper. I want to spend big on a striker. And I'm going to be real with you guys. I'm kind of picturing just Enzo Fernandez balls over the top to find an onrushing Victor Osimhen. I'm picturing guys like Mudryk and Madueke and Sterling actually having a focal point in the box they can confidently play crosses to. Let's see what happens from next week, right? Right now, let's discuss the other minor updates around Mason Mount and his move to Man United, because as we learned yesterday, the club officially rejected United's proposal of 50 million plus 5 million in add-ons, but we gave them a counter offer where we asked for 58 million in return plus 7 million in add-ons. Now, there's still a quite big, difference between what United want to pay and the fee that we want to earn from Mount Sale. And it seems like Man United are a bit unhappy with how we're negotiating over Mason Mount. Not only do they feel like we are overpricing him by a considerable distance, United's director and John Murto is not impressed by how we're basically leaking the bids to our correspondents in the media in London. And last night, when the news broke around this Mason Mount update, all the big heavy-hitter journalists kind of reported the story within like the space of 15 to 10 seconds apart. So that kind of reveals everything you need to know about how they're receiving their information behind the story at this point in time. And it's a reminder that clubs also need to use the media for their own benefits as well too. But anyway, going back to our counter offer of around 58 million plus 7 million in add-ons, we've said that we are happy to negotiate in person to try and come to an agreement over a sale. We understand that Mason Mount is refusing to sign any more contracts, but as I keep stressing, the only contract offer presented to Mount that's been made public is that 1-year extension deal. And from my recollection, from what I know, there's been no new offers made since. Obviously, the reality is we could risk losing Mason Mount on a free next year, but there's also another possibility where, he plays under Pochettino, a guy that likes him, and is the reason why the 1-year extension was presented to Mount to begin with. Regardless if it could be like a negative outcome or a positive one, it's still a gamble. So right now, it's time for United to cough things up. Financially, things are a bit peak for them. You know, they're awaiting this takeover from like a new owner at this point in time. So they are a bit cash strapped right now. But again, you know, if you want this guy that bad, I've seen you pay 100 million for Anthony. Find the money somehow. And if not, reports are saying that United also have other options over Mason Mount. So we'll see what happens. But my thing is, if Mount doesn't go to Man United, he won't go to Liverpool anymore. I'd be surprised by that. And he probably won't go to Arsenal either. So time will tell. Let's see how the story progresses. And right now, to end things, let's talk all things us and Inter Milan. Because as we know, Azpilicueta is getting very close now to signing for Inter Milan. Inter Milan have agreed a 2-year deal worth 3.5 million euros per season. But to sign Azpilicueta, they're hoping that we can come into a mutual termination agreement with Azpi to basically sign him on a free deal. Now, Azpi is okay with that, and based on the latest reports, the club are actively working to make this happen for Azpilicueta. The reality simply is, now that we've signed Malo Gusto, you know, Azpi has kind of physically declined a little bit, and because we don't play with a back three system, you know, he doesn't really work the same now playing as a fullback or a wingback. It makes sense for him to go, considering that he still earns quite decent wages, and that reduces the wage bill. Now, to make this happen, Inter Milan have agreed to pay Azpi a bonus between 2 to 3 million euros, of course, now that he will mutually terminate his contract with us. So I guess we start preparing to say goodbye to a club legend that's accumulated more than 500 appearances for us over the years. And, you know, of course, when that finally gets announced, we'll have to bid our farewells to Azpi. But of course, to end things, we have to talk Romelu Lukaku, because for me, it's going to be really interesting to see what ends up happening with his future. And that's because last night it was confirmed that Inter Milan are basically set to sign Marcus Thuram on a free deal, and Marcus will earn between 6 million to 6.5 million euros a season. As I keep saying, if you leave on a free, you earn even more money. And Inter Milan have come to us asking for another loan for Lukaku, and they want us to front more of the wages. He was earning 8 million a year at Inter, and Inter asked him to drop that down to 7 million a year. So the fact that they can give Thuram this amount of money is just like, Inter Milan, like, what are you doing right now? To be fair though, Dzeko is going to Turkey next season, and with Inter Milan's, you know, back three system, ideally they need to have 4 strikers. So there's still a possibility that Lukaku could remain at Inter, but it's not looking too great right now, because we have made things abundantly clear. No more loans. If you want Lukaku, you have to buy him. And right now, we have concrete offers from Saudi clubs. Now, Saudi clubs have offered Lukaku a 3-year deal worth 30 million euros a year. And they're prepared to pay around 40 million euros to sign him on a permanent deal. Lukaku doesn't want that. He only wants to remain at Inter Milan. And right now, AC Milan are also showing interest. Now, last night, Lukaku's lawyer basically rejected interest from AC Milan, saying that there's no truth behind that. But reports keep intensifying that Milan are interested in signing him. And now that they basically forced the sale of Tonali to Newcastle, you know, they're up financially right now. We have money to spend, and we're only interested in clubs that are willing to buy Lukaku now on a permanent deal. You know, one part of me would feel like, you know, it would be a bit peak for Lukaku, because he loves Inter Milan, and if he was maybe forced to go to AC Milan because they're the only ones that can afford to buy him, that's going to definitely tarnish his legacy with Inter Milan, and it will continue this reputation he has of being like one of the most hated players by fans in Europe. But you know what? Even though I feel bad for him, there's a reality that I actually support and agree with. No more loans. Like, no more loans. If you have to go to Saudi Arabia, so be it. If you had to go to AC Milan, so be it. Because the end of the day is, you don't want to come back to us. There was an option for you to return back here. You said no. So if Inter Milan can't afford to buy you, you're making things a bit harder for yourself. And this is where you have to be a bit flexible now. So for me, the only way I see Lukaku able to remain at Inter Milan is if Inter Milan accept that they must negotiate for Andre Onana and potentially Lautaro Martinez. They are the only 2 solutions right now. As I said, sympathise for Lukaku, but I'm sorry, we need money for you if you're not coming back here. It's not a charity shop, it's just how business is. And hopefully he's off the books if he doesn't want to come back to this football club. It's that simple for me, my friend. So right now, they are the latest reports that have come out today. Share your thoughts and opinions. How do you feel about things? How do you feel about Nkunku? How many goals do you think Nkunku might get under Pochettino for next season? Let us know below. And my friends, on that note, I'm Nini FC. This is BlueLionsTV. I'll catch you guys later with some more videos. Cool.